Welcome back to another episode of SitEcast. Today we are your
The
hosts.
side of Gravity Falls.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say after we. Yeah.
Well, fuck you.
Anyway, I am Chris. With me is Justin.
Yep. I
Yes.
think you had gathered that already.
Just in case, maybe this is their first episode. They don't know our names.
Well, if it was their first episode, why would they jump in on the third video of Gravity Falls? Even if it's their first Gravity Falls, why would they pick the third one of them?
Because it's
Doesn't make any sense.
because it's the most recent.
You're an asshole.
Ah. Anyway, today we are doing, like you said, a side of Gravity Falls. This is our third video.
Yes.
So
I already said that, Chris.
I know. I'm just reiterating, Justin.
Okay.
Dang. And so we will start today's episode with the episode, what, 12, 13?
13.
13, Boss Mabel.
Boss Mabel.
And
This episode doesn't suck because it's still Gravity Falls, but this episode sucks.
Justin, do you want to give kind of a basic rundown as to what this episode was about?
Yeah, actually, I'm on the page. Let me go to the actual episode. Sorry. I wasn't prepared for this. Oh, shit. Distract him.
I'm just going to say...
Basically, this episode... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm going to say it right now. I don't think... Of all 20, which I've now seen twice, I think this is kind of
Your least favorite?
my least favorite. But
The weakest?
we'll get to that once you say what the summary is.
Okay. So, the summary, official overview. When Mabel questions the way Stan runs the mystery hack, he challenges her to a bet. Whoever can make the most money in 3 days wins the chance to run the shack however they wish for the rest of the summer. Mabel takes the bet and implements a new bossing method that coddles her employees and gives them the freedom to follow their hopes and dreams. Unfortunately, the results are not as expected, and Mabel finds herself just trying to get back some normalcy. Meanwhile, Grunkle Stan sets off to win big money on a television game show.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
What kind of happens is Mabel tries to do some things, and Grunkle Stan's like, "Nah, you can't do it that way," and she doesn't like the way
You do it my way.
Yeah, he doesn't like the way he runs. She doesn't like the way he runs things. She's like, "You're too mean, and you're not. You know, if you're nice, you know, people will work harder for you, and all this and that." And
Yeah. You gotta be mean, you gotta drop the hammer, otherwise they'll just walk all over you.
pretty much like a bunch.
Which is true. Like, that does happen. People
Right.
are assholes.
And Dipper and Wendy already agree that they don't like Stan, or they think it kind of sucks working for him. And while Zeus likes Stan, likes working there, you find out in this episode that he wanted to be the mascot. He wanted to have his own outfit and everything, and Stan turned him down. And when Mabel finds
Questiony the question mark.
the question mark, and Mabel, after hearing this, decides that's enough is enough. So she challenges Stan, and yeah. And then Stan goes to a game show, which is obviously making fun of other game shows. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
they're being very satirical with their representation of a game show. And
Oh, yeah. It's Wheel of Fortune. Although I think it's called, like, Wheel of Money or something like that.
they have the money shower.
The money shower, yep. He, like, actually, when he gets the money shower, he starts to undress.
Yeah. And then he's like, "You don't have to do that. I'm doing it anyway." But yeah,
Quick, go to commercial.
it's just kind of
Cash Wheel, that's what it's called. Cash Wheel.
Cash Wheel. It's just kind of a meh episode to me because I mean there are some funny moments. It is still Gravity Falls. It is still a funny show, but it's the fact.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of funny moments.
It's the fact that I don't know. I don't really know why. Maybe
You're just not invested in the story.
pretty much. I think that's all it really is. You know, there's just.
I think the only thing that really caught you was the Grimoblin. Or Grimloblin, sorry.
The Grimloblin. I think it was just because, like I said, most of these episodes have a moral to them, something you're supposed to walk away having learned something. And I think what they were going for with Mabel is that you want to be a nice person. You should try to be a nice person, but there's a difference between being nice and being walked on.
Yeah, of
And
course.
and I don't know, that just I think it's a good lesson, but I don't know. It was just kind of mad to me. And then Stan's was just too. I feel like Stan's lesson was just too obvious. Like, say
Yeah.
please. You know, I mean, I don't know if that was trying to be.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was trying to be a lesson or just trying to be funny because it's Grunkle Stan.
probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So the cryptogram for this episode is heavy is the head that wears the fez.
Obviously,
In reference, obviously, to being boss.
to being. Yeah, it's because Stan wears the fez all the time.
Yep.
Um,
Which I love, by the way. It's one of my favorite parts of his character. I really like the fez.
I never really gave it a second thought. It was just kind of part of his uniform.
Well, that's because you suck.
You shut up, you.
Shut up. Yeah.
I got it. All right. So my favorite joke was the whole. So one of Dipper's idea was that, hey, why don't we go? I've seen real fantastic stuff. Why don't we have some of that instead of all this fake stuff that you make? And so he goes and catches a grub. What is it called?
Gremloblin.
Gremloblin.
The Gremloblin.
And which, by the way, another thing that bugs me about this episode is it's another example of the flip flopping they do with Dipper, because he can fight a multi-bear, but he's scared of Robbie. But then he goes and fights. Well, we don't even know. He just catches off screen.
Well, he goes with a flail.
With a flail. The flail, by the way, doesn't make.
And catches it.
Yeah, he catches it, and he doesn't come back with the flail. You don't see that flail again.
Yeah. And he somehow is able to not only get it in a sack, but carry it. So Dipper is kind of really powerful.
All right, you would have.
Oh, and there's actually a part in a later episode where he's like being chewed on his leg by like a wolf, and he's just like, still better. And then he just sits there with the wolf chewing on his leg. Dipper's kind of a beast.
He is,
Got that Toon Force.
which is really why I don't understand why he's afraid of Robbie. It bugs me all the time.
For plot.
I know.
Yeah, but you won't accept it.
I can't. But anyway, the funniest joke was he shows this couple the Grebloblin, and they don't think it's real. They're like, oh, I can see the strings. No, that's his hair. That's the hair on his.
Yeah.
And he's like, fun fact. If you look into its eyes, you can see your worst nightmare. And then they do, and they get carried off in an ambulance.
Get hospitalized.
Right, and then later he goes up to Mabel and's like, well, I just made 2 people insane.
That doesn't even pale in comparison, I think. Same setup with the fear thing, but when he puts the mirror in its face, and then the Gremloblin's worst fear, it's like looking into a mirror, and he's like, I've become my father.
No!
And
And then
he
he runs
freaks
off.
out and runs into the forest. Yeah. And then the singing salmon, too, was kind of funny.
You know, now that I think about it, I think the Grebloblin is totally supposed to be a reference to Gremlins,
Oh, probably.
the movie, because if you remember...
It's a gremlin and a goblin.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't really know what a gremlin looks like other than from that movie.
I actually have never seen that movie.
Oh. Well, yeah, when
So.
they start off, they're like fluffy and they look like a Furby.
They're mogwais, aren't they? Isn't that
They're
what they're called?
mogwais, yeah. And then
You can't feed them after midnight or something, or get them wet or some shit like that.
can't feed them after midnight, which is I'm not even going to go into how weird that is.
Yeah, because midnight where?
Exactly, but
How does that work?
but anyway, yeah, all in all, that's all I really got for this. It's just kind of a meh episode for me.
I'm checking out the transcript, see if there are any like particularly funny jokes.
Yeah, it's just not.
You want to read off some of the trivia? Trivia?
Well, the number 618 or 618 shows up again. It's it appears on the cash register.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh, here actually, I totally forgot I've got notes here.
Yes.
Let me look at those. So, chip hackers. At the very beginning, they've got a commercial for chip hackers. They're the crackers that taste like chips, And Mabel's like eating them. They taste just like chips.
But they're crackers, yeah.
And then the snow globes, he makes him $200. I mean, that's a simple joke, but it's a little funny, you know.
Yeah, up the price,
Oh, and
higher.
do you just see them as walking wallets? And then he sees them and they are, and then the kid like vomits all the money onto the ground.
Yeah, and he's like, he shakes it like, clean up in the front lawn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When Stan goes on to Cash Wheel, he's like, I'm here to take all the cash from your wheel. So I wrote that down. I thought that was funny.
This guy is loud.
Okay, I don't remember this. Go for it.
I was going to say, he's loud, he's self-centered, and he's selfish. He's perfect.
Yeah, somebody get him on television. But I wrote down, it should have been me. I think there was a joke with Seuss at one point where like they said something about how Stan was dead or some shit like that. And he just screams out, it should have been me.
Yes.
So wrote that down because apparently I thought that was significant at the time. Mabel learns to be a boss. By the end, of course, she understands. So that's really the only moral.
Pretty much. I mean...
Okay, here's one. I wrote this down. I just remembered this. He's like, well, check your book. Maybe there's a way we can beat it. And then he starts reading it. And he's like, when fighting a gremlin, you should always use water. And then she's like, oh, and she goes and she throws water on it as a last resort because it'll make it really, really angry. Who writes sentences like that?
Really, yeah.
Then it like morphs and gets scarier. That was pretty funny. Like this episode's got a lot of great jokes, which, you know, pretty much every episode does, but
You know,
that's pretty much it.
something to think about. We don't actually get to see Dipper catch the gremlin, but it can be assumed that he tricked it in some way because, you know, when the gremlin gets out, he doesn't go and fight it. He's kind of like...
Yeah, he's afraid of it.
Yeah.
He probably like caught it in a trap of some kind.
Well, it does seem rather not that intelligent. It was very fascinated with the singing salmon.
Yeah. I am the singing salmon to get the weepy jammon. Whatever the fuck it said.
Yeah.
It just listens to it over and over. Oh yeah, the Mabel learns she does her up-to-date managerial tricks from a book, Succeeding in Management, 1983.
Yeah.
Why does your mug say number 2? Because the real number 1 is you.
Oh, and they're all happy. They're like, oh, that was nice.
Mm-hmm. It's great. Okay, so here's one last thing I have written on here for this episode. Being a boss is about blank. So, what do you think being a boss is really about?
Huh.
Like, when it comes down to it, what do you really need? What does pretty much every boss need, universally?
So every boss has its own boss. All right, that's something.
Of course.
That's something.
All the way up until the head of the company.
And even then, when you're the head of the company, you have your own bosses because you have usually there's a board of directors and
Yeah.
then you have people that own stock in your business and
Mm-hmm.
you know
So you're always answering to someone in some way, shape, and/or form.
exactly. Now it sucks when you're the bottommost person in any business because, like they say,
Shit trickles downhill.
yeah, it rolls downhill. So you're gonna take the biggest load of it. But just because
Gross.
you take the
Taking
most
big loads.
just because you take most of it or the biggest amount of it doesn't mean that everybody else isn't getting an amount themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Bosses deal with a lot of crap, but to be a good boss, I think I've had my share of bosses, both good and bad. I think what makes a good boss is understanding, you know, not being like very flexible. Like,
Yeah.
you should be a boss that commands respect, but the people that work under you aren't afraid to come to you.
Yeah.
I think that's
I've also had my fair share of good/bad bosses. I think anybody who's done any work, you know, has experience with that. But personally, I prefer the A. Personally, I think that a good boss is basically like my mother. She works her ass off for her job, right? So I think a good boss, like a trait of a good boss, is they need to be willing to work their ass off for the business. Obviously, they're not there to make a paycheck. They're there for the business. They just happen to make a paycheck in the process. So not necessarily first and foremost, but I think the boss needs to have some personal, well, not necessarily a personal stake in the business, but you know what I mean? They've got to be invested in their business. So she will work her ass off for the business, and she will throw down the gauntlet if she needs to, if her employees are not doing what they need to do. But she won't ridicule you if you're doing wrong. But I mean, she could get mean if you're being a fuck up, but she's going to make it known that it's because you're a fuck up. She's not going to just be mean to you. She's going to let you understand what you're doing wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like a boss needs to be very firm, but you're not trying to just be mean to them. But then when they're not doing wrong, she's very nice. She's very friendly. Like, I think a good boss isn't the guy or gal who sits in their office and does their work and then comes out to check on their employees. It's the person that tries to make friends with their employees. But there's that distinction. You can be friends with them until they don't do their job properly, and then that's when you become the the gunslinger, the lawbringer with the badge and all that, and you rein them in. I think there's got to be a very good, like you said, flexibility.
I don't think it's a good idea for a boss to be friends with their employees.
Why?
Because because when you become friends with an employee, it's hard, because if you have to crack down on them, you're friends. It makes it complicated. You can be nice to each other, but I don't think, if I was a boss, I probably wouldn't go out and out drinking with the people under me.
Well, yeah, no, my mom doesn't do that with any of her employees. But that doesn't mean she's not friends with them. She's not best friends with them, but she's still friends with them.
I guess I'm saying I wouldn't hang out with them outside of work, because then it could be...
might muddy the relationship a
exactly.
bit, make it harder for you to do the things you need to do. But that's the thing. You've got to differentiate between... You've got to be able to compartmentalize. You got to differentiate between work and play.
Right.
Sure, like, for instance, my mom is a manager of a restaurant, right?
Right.
When it's not busy, she's friendly. She's doing the friend thing. Everyone can kind of goof off a bit. The moment it starts to get busy, that is done. You are done doing that. You're doing your job to the best of your ability. If you fuck up, you're going to know you fucked up. But it's not going to be in a mean way. She's not going to ridicule you for it, you know?
Right. You really...
And obviously, the boss will be different based on the business, of course.
Right. I mean, I've had... the best boss I ever had was really... He was in the military, and he kind of brought that over with him into being an assistant manager. Like, he'd always...
Very straight-laced?
Pretty much. He was very... Like, he'd always answer you affirmative or negative. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
And it's always funny.
Affirmative.
When you'd ask him questions like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" He'd be like, "Well, you already did, but you can ask me something else."
Yeah.
Like, he'd be that kind of guy. But one day,
Sir, can I ask you 2 questions?
One time I went up to him, and my phone broke. Like, it completely broke that day. And he's like, "Look, I understand that phones for young people." He wasn't even that old. I think he was in his mid to late 20s. And,
oh, wow.
And he's like, for you people your age, a phone is very important. So go home. You can leave early. Get your phone fixed. And that's the thing. If you can be friendly, because something I learned, if you work as hard as you can, and you get nothing for it, why do it?
I guess if it's for the company you work for, kind of out of
some
amount of respect for the company,
some kind of loyalty to it.
Loyalty, yeah. But I mean, I totally understand without the proper motivation, not wanting to go the extra mile.
It's not even okay. There was this idea at my work. By the way, I was a night stalker at one point. I stalked the shelves in the middle of the night at a grocery store. I would sit there and, I would be sweating, drenched. I'm just sitting there throwing my aisle as fast as I can. And then as soon as I'm done, I go over and I'm like, "Hey, I'm done with my stuff." "Oh, okay, go help everybody else." Why? Why do I have to pick up their slack now? I worked my
Yep.
8 hours. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Now I gotta work an extra. I mean I get it. Sometimes like on holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, we would
Is
just
bigger than you.
yeah, dude. I would come in at 10 o'clock at night, and I wouldn't leave until about 10 o'clock the next day.
Hmm.
I would work 12 hours, and it just came to a point where if you look at us, you watch us, kill ourselves to try to get this job done. If you're not gonna, help us out, be nice to us, then we're not gonna work hard for you.
Yeah. Actually, as a little aside, Valentine's Day just happened, right? And in the restaurant industry, or the service industry, I guess, for restaurants, especially nice restaurants like the one my mother manages, uh, on Valentine's Day, everybody wants to go out for dinner with their loved one, obviously. So, put it in perspective, on a good day or on a good night, which is fairly busy, they'll do around $5,000 in sales, right? Total for the night. On Valentine's Day, my mom did 6,000 sales by herself. They did close to 18,000 on that day. So in that circumstance, it does not matter who you are. They've got everybody working and everybody is doing as best they can, and it's that situation where it's bigger than you. You can't just, put your personal stake into it. Everyone's, giving it their all for the good of everyone else, because if not, then, it kind of fucks the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But that's definitely not an everyday. You don't have to kill yourself every single time you go to work. But I don't think you need, like, I'm against just slacking off. You
Well,
know?
what ended up happening at the store I worked at is people didn't kill themselves anymore. You work there, you start working there, you do the best you can, but then you start to realize that no matter how hard you work, there's always going to be more work for you to do.
Yeah, it didn't ultimately really matter.
Exactly. So it's like, well, then I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to work as hard as I need to get my stuff done. But then
Yeah.
after that,
Oh shit, dude. I'm like, sorry, this is a complete aside, but I'm sitting here like picking my toenails because I'm kind of gross like that, and I don't. I mean, we started the show. I don't want to go get up and get like toenail clippers and all that, but I just like sliced the shit out of my finger, and now it's bleeding.
ugh.
Why is that gross? It's just blood.
Yeah, but it's not the blood; it's the slicing the finger.
Well, it's actually, if you look at your nails, not the part that you actually scratch with, but the other end where like calcium usually, I think it's what it is, where when it has that little like white bubble there sometimes.
Yeah.
Right at that where the nail goes under the skin, that tore up, and now it's bleeding.
Ow.
It doesn't hurt. It's just blood.
Anyway.
It's just pain. What the hell? What the hell? But
Anyway.
that's a total aside. I think we're good with this episode.
Yeah, which is funny because it was the one I had the least to talk about because I thought it was boring. But you bringing up the boss thing.
That's why I wrote it. That's why I put it down, so that we could have a little more to talk about. Oh, and before we end this episode, I rated it about because what we did is in the last few episodes, we would watch episodes, do a show, watch some more episodes, do a show. This last time that we were catching up, watching episodes, writing down my notes here, I actually rated each episode. So for this episode, I rated it about a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's still pretty good. It's definitely above a 5 because it's still Gravity Falls. It's funny, good animation. I like the characters. But as far as the rest of the show goes, it's like a 6 or a 7. I'd be leaning more towards a 6 because I really didn't get that invested in the episode itself.
Yeah.
What would you rate it?
Off the top of my head, like a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Like honestly,
For pretty much the same reason.
pretty much. If there was any one episode to skip, this would probably be the one.
No, you don't skip any. It's a good show.
But yeah, I think we're good to move on.
Okay.
All right.
So the next episode 14, Bottomless Pit.
And it doesn't really need a synopsis because it's just
Well, I'll still read the overview
okay.
because it's one sentence. While Stan, Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss are falling in a bottomless pit, they tell stories to pass the time.
So yeah, to
That's
expound
it.
to expound on that a little bit, there's this big hole in the ground that Stan claims is a bottomless pit, and Dipper even makes makes how I'm dropping the word here. He says that's can't it can't happen. Nothing can be bottomless.
By its definition, it's being a pit. It's not bottomless.
Exactly. So they're throwing stuff into it because, as far as they know, it never comes back, and then they all accidentally fall
A
into
big
it.
wind blows them in,
Yeah,
basically.
and then they're just falling and falling, and like he said, to pass the time, they just do these little stories,
Yeah, they tell stories.
and
And I mean, that's basically it. So let's talk about the first of the stories, which is voiceover, and it's of course all about Dipper and his voice and getting a new voice.
yeah, Dippers doesn't like the fact that he's going through puberty and his voice is cracking, so he runs into the old crazy guy,
Fiddleford H.
McGuckick. Yep, and he gives him this fluid that changes his voice, and he sounds very.
It's like a potion.
Yeah, his voice is great though. I loved his voice.
When he runs.
Yeah.
But one thing I have written down here at the very beginning of that like little story, he runs up and he's like, "Guys, oh no, I've been bit by a snake. I need someone to suck out the poison." And they all start laughing at him. So right here I wrote, "Gets bit, ignores it," because everyone ignores it and he just completely forgets that he got bit.
I guess it wasn't poisonous.
Well, I mean, it was a story, so it wasn't important, but I just thought that was kind of funny.
Okay. And then yeah, it's just another episode kind of iterating, be happy with yourself. Don't try to change for others. Yeah.
Love yourself / don't change a normal. Wait, what? Oh, that's a different thing. Okay, love yourself / don't change is basically what I have written here, as we've already been through, multiple times throughout the show so far.
Because they just love to drive that home,
Mm-hmm. And then I have written down here, I don't remember the setup, but I think McGucket yells, "You can run, but I'll still be in your nightmares."
Oh yeah, like a kid comes up to him, I think, or a guy comes up to him and he does something weird and he runs away in fear and he's like, "You can run away, but I'll still be in your nightmares."
It's a little fat kid.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. But that's the whole thing. There was a little funny joke where he puts because he has a choice of a second vial or going back to normal. He puts the second vial in Stan's coffee, and he comes out and he's talking like a high pitched like girl with a like kind of ghetto accent, I guess.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. But that's the whole little short.
Pretty
like it's whatever.
The fact that it's shorts is just kind of none of these are going to be very long.
Mm-hmm. The second one is called. It's like a really long one with Seuss.
Seuss's really great pinball story. Is that a good title? Do they have to be puns or whatever?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Do they have to be like puns or whatever?
Which was pretty cool. I like the pinball, the voice of the pinball head.
Yeah. So, actually, yeah, me too. I liked the like skeleton cowboy head thing. I would love to play that pinball machine, by the way, because it seemed like it'd be pretty fun.
So
talking cowboy skull.
Long story short, there's a pinball machine that Seuss wants to. It's like his live stream or something to get a high score, get the highest score on it, and they cheat at it because of Mabel and Dipper just say, tilt it.
They tilt it.
Tilted, and there's a little skull, a little cowboy skull that says, "Don't do that," and they get sucked in, and they have to beat him. And
oh, by the way, before they get sucked in, Dipper's like, "Are you seeing this? This seems like an awful lot of amount of green lightning." And then Seuss is like, "Nah, that's a normal amount of green lightning."
Yeah, that's a normal amount of green lightning. Yeah,
that was kind of funny. They get sucked in.
I think the funniest joke for me in that little sequence was I totally help you guys out, but I'm distracted by this like hot babe, and it's like a 2D thing. You remember the?
It's like a wooden cutout of a chick.
Yeah.
Actually, right at that point, he's like, hey, Mabel, can you like make a distraction or something? And then, because she's like dressed almost with like stereotypical Indian stuff, like a feather and all that, and she just like gets all stoic, and the wind blows her hair. She's like, my time has come. She goes out and distracts him, being very
Yep.
whatever. But that was funny. Oh, and then right before they die, because he's like, you cheated, I'm gonna fucking kill you guys and shit. Zeus finds a button. He's going to shut the machine down. Or Zeus. I keep saying Zeus. Zeus is going to shut the machine down, but if he does, it'll reset all the scores. So he's like, what do I do? Like, we're going to die! What is death to the immortality of a high score? But then, of course, he saves them, and they teleport out of the game and wake up and all that, and everything's all good and whatnot.
Okay. But,
And then the moral of that one I wrote down here is don't cheat / don't worry about trivial things. And that would, in this case, it would be like your high score. Don't worry about that shit. You know?
okay. That's really all I got for that.
Yep. Then Stan tells a story about football, and he has like a robot he built and stuff like that, but they kind of dismiss it really quick.
Yeah, because it's just him like gloating, but then they tell this other story about Stan, and
Mabel tells it, and it's Truthache.
yeah, I do like. Well, okay, to start off, long story short, Mabel doesn't like that Grunkle Stan lies a lot, so they find these pair of dentures that when you use the dentures, you cannot tell a lie,
Yeah, it's the liar concept.
and
You're just like forced to tell the truth.
yeah, and so hilarity ensues because Grunkle Stan tells them a bunch of stuff that they didn't want to know.
Yeah. He like calls the cops. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I committed tax fraud.
Well, no, he says, oh yeah, but before that, on his taxes, he writes, Dipper's like, why did you say I committed tax fraud? And he's like, oh, because I've been committing tax fraud for years. He's like, I'm just going to file this away. And he puts it in a shredder.
Yeah. I like at the very beginning when he's like, so what, you're going to teach this bear to like ride a unicycle? No, that's been done before. I'm going to teach him to drive. So they're like on the street driving with a fucking bear, and the cops pull them over. It's my seeing eye bear.
I got prescribed this by the doctor medicine. Well,
He like opens his coat and like writes in it.
yeah.
You have a dog note? Yeah.
That was beautiful. But I think one of the cooler parts I wish I would have seen more of is, what's his name? Wendy's father.
Oh, Manly Dan.
Manly Dan wrestles with the bear when they first bring it in.
Yeah. That's kind of funny.
But anyway, yeah.
It's funny. It's not a bad episode. It's pretty funny.
And then it ends with them. What happens is when they fall out of the black hole, making it seem like it's a wormhole.
Oh wait, hold on. What I wrote down as the like moral for that one, that little tale, is lying is sometimes good, and that's basically it. Like sometimes you gotta lie for the greater good.
Or just don't. Because some of the things he did, it wasn't so much that he lied, it's just that he didn't say. Like, okay, he's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and not wash my hands. That's not lying if you didn't. It's just him not saying. As long as he didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as he didn't come out saying, yeah, I washed my hands, it's not a lie, it's just something he didn't say out loud.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, so they go through the wormhole, they come back out, and.
They like fly out the top.
Yeah, and Grogu Stan falls back in.
Yeah.
Actually,
himself. Right when they fly out, I think Dipper says something about it being like some kind of wormhole.
Yeah.
And I wrote this part down, but Zeus says something like, "That sounds sciencey enough to be true," and it was.
And it is. But
and then the ending credits thing was Stan just like angrily sitting there like waiting while falling, and he's just waiting there, and there's no like all you hear is just like as he's just falling.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
I got to tell you, if I fell in there like a second time, I'd just fall asleep.
Seriously.
Like but that would
just wait around.
But dude, how awesome would that be? You're falling, and you're just like you want to get over your fear of falling. That's how you would do it.
Yeah, kinda. A lot of people aren't afraid of falling; they're afraid of hitting the ground.
Yeah, but
So, yeah, what about the trivia on this one? Anything
all right.
spectacular?
Well,
Let's
okay.
see.
So they changed the Fez on Grunkle
Oh,
Stan's.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
they
It's
changed it.
almost exactly the same, but it's slightly different now.
Yeah, before it was kind of like a fish with a giant mouth, and now it's a smaller fish with eating like a dot.
A pellet
Yeah.
of some kind, almost like Pac-Man.
Yes.
Yes. Let's see. But with a star, quite similar to the secret symbol of the Royal Order of the Holy Mackerel. So what is that? So apparently that's what a symbol is, the Royal Order of the Holy Mackerel. So that's kind of cool.
Yes. You want to say the cryptogram?
618 yeah, 618 appears a couple of times also. The cryptogram is next up, Footbot 2, Grunkle's Revenge, which Footbot was the robot son that Grunkle Stan built in his story.
Yes. Other than that, I mean, the one thing I want to bring up is how do you feel about shows today? Most of them, most of them seem like they're the full half an hour. I guess I'm gonna ask, which do you think is better, in your opinion? The shows that would be like when we were kids, like Ed and Eddie, there would be two 15-minute segments, or
Yeah.
the one half an hour long segment.
Um, hmm. I don't know. I guess it depends on the show. Like it works for a show like Ed and Eddie, Ed and Eddie, but the half-hour show, well, more like 22 minutes or whatever, works. I think works better for Gravity Falls, and that's probably why this is one of my like least favorite episodes, because I mean it's got good jokes and it's got some funny setups and all that, but it's just kind of random tales. There's not really like an overarching story to it besides they're in a pit,
Right.
you know. So I guess it really depends on the show. But I guess I prefer the longer episodes because you get more time on a specific story.
Right. I was gonna say
So
when you have the half an hour long episodes, you do get more uh, overarching things, callbacks to other things. With the 15-minute segments, it's just kind of plot and then you're done. You know, it's
yeah,
yeah.
but
Which
for me, yeah, I prefer like the hour long, like 45-minute shows like Walking Dead or Game of Thrones. So you get a lot in and like all these different story. Well, in Game of Thrones case, all these different stories are coming together at once, and you get to see all these different things happening. So it's like somewhere in the episode you will like something that's happening.
Well, you know what I think it is. Part of it is that it's kind of the same as SNL. Like Ed, Edd and Eddie and Courage the Cowardly Dog and stuff like that. They were kind of sketch shows. They didn't need
Yeah,
to be.
they're a day in the life.
Yeah, there's just like, oh, this weird thing happened to these people, and then you move on. But these
This
other ones,
weird thing happened.
no. Now that I think about it, there's not a lot of animated, shows that are each episode's an hour long. They're usually only up to a half an hour long.
Mm-hmm. Are there any that are an hour long?
I've seen a couple where each episode was an hour long, and it was like a 6 episode.
Like
There's an anime
anime?
called it was an anime
Mhm.
called like Broken Edge or Broken Steel or something, and each episode it was 6 episodes long. Each episode was an hour.
Okay.
I don't know why they decided to do that because it didn't see like why they couldn't just cut it in half, but
Make 12 episodes, 30 minutes each.
yeah, but that's the way they decided to go.
Whatever. So anyway, before we really move on, I put this at a 6/7 out of 10 also. But this one's probably closer to a 7 than a 6.
Do you think?
Yeah, because it is better than Boss Mabel, in my opinion. It is more enjoyable. Particularly, I think one of the best parts is the Dipper voice.
Are you? Yeah.
It's just funny. So,
All
ready
right.
to move on?
I think so. So the next one is called The Deep End.
Yes. The Deep End.
Would you like to give the
Let me,
official overview?
Yes, let me click over to the next episode. All right, The Deep End, episode 15, The Deep End. Everybody, The Deep End. This episode that we are about to do right now is called The Deep End. When Mabel befriends a cute merman trapped in the deep end of the public pool, she's determined to return him to his family in the ocean, even though that means her whirlwind romance will come to an end. Meanwhile, Dipper learns that Wendy is a lifeguard at the pool, so he decides that the best way to spend time with her is to become the assistant lifeguard.
Okay, yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Meanwhile, there's also a little spat between Gideon and Stan over a chair, and Seuss convinced there's a blow-up duck revolution.
Yeah, but that's just kind of in the background, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's still happening, isn't it? Isn't it?
It is. So to expound on it a little
It
bit
is.
more, they go to the pool for the first time because it's super hot, and then
Yeah, the summer's like really hot, which actually I don't know if this is like a traditional thing in Gravity Falls or if this is like a particularly hot year, but that does come into play in a later episode.
yeah. And so they go to the pool, and there's all these kind of like side things, like Stan fighting Gideon over the perfect chair, Dipper wanting to hang out with Wendy at the pool.
But Mr. Poolcheck being really crazy.
Yeah, and then Mabel meeting, what is his name? I should know it.
Mermando.
Mormondo, and finding out that
I am Mermando.
he's a mermaid, which
He's a
how-
merman.
he's a merman, but how do you not notice that?
The water is clear.
Yeah.
I don't know. Remember, the citizens of Gravity Falls are like the dumbest people in America.
Yeah, but how did Mabel not notice that?
Oh, I don't know. She just didn't? She was underwater under him.
Better question, because of the fact that Mr. Poolcheck is so kind of insane, how did he not notice one kid just sitting in a pool all night long?
I don't know. I really don't.
Plot holes, dude. Plot holes.
Because it doesn't matter to the to the story. It's a cartoon, dude.
You know what I saw, though? Just a little bit of a side here. Mr. Poolcheck apparently looks a lot like what Benson from the regular show would probably look like if he was human and act like.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, that's pretty true. So the first thing I have written down here is that Wax Stan melts. So yeah, you get to see Wax Stan at the beginning of this episode.
Which is a callback to the
with his head. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Headhunters or whatever it was called. But he has his head this time, but he melts. Poor Wax Stan dying a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this part I cannot again. I should probably take a better note, but because I just have this one line here. But there was some setup with Stan and Waddles where he was gonna like do something to him, and he's just staring at him, and he's like, "You called my bluff, pig."
Oh, he said, "I'm going to turn you into bacon," because he's lying on the ground.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
You called my bluff.
You called my bluff or something, yeah.
Pig. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
One thing I noticed about this episode is Dipper is so much more comfortable with Wendy than in previous episodes.
that's yeah. It could just be because the fact that they're hanging out and
Yeah.
they're getting to know each other more.
And actually, in this episode, she's shown to be a lot cooler than she has been in other episodes.
Huh?
You know what I mean?
No. Well, I don't remember.
Like, she's just a more enjoyable character, and that's probably because she doesn't have all her friends around her.
Well, most of the time she doesn't have her friends around her. Actually,
Well, in earlier episodes, she does.
in a couple. I mean,
Well,
Rob
yeah.
shows up more than the rest of them. Do,
Well-
but
I mean, in episodes where she's like a bigger part. Like, because a lot of the time she's just kind of there, but then the episodes where she's actually around, she's got her friends or Robbie or whomever around.
okay.
This is one where it's actually more focused around her, but she doesn't have any of them around, and she's just kind of more enjoyable as a character.
Okay. I
But
don't.
she's kind of a doucher.
Well, Wendy?
Yeah, she's always like stealing from the job and breaking all the rules and just messing with people and whatnot.
It's not so much. I don't think she's like mean. I think she's just kind of.
15.
She's 15, so she's kind of rebellious. She's bored. You know,
Yeah,
as
that's
15.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
She's a little bit of a doucher though.
a little bit, a little bit.
A little bit.
So I don't know if this episode actually has a moral to it. I can't think of anything that you're supposed to walk away from other than don't go to pool jail.
Yeah, don't go to pool jail, especially not solitary. It's the nights that are the hardest.
Yeah.
That was sad. So I wrote down here Mr. Poolcheck, and then later I went back and underlined it because he's an awesome character, but he is weird as fuck. Like if you remember some of the things he does,
He's
there's
like
a part where they look over at him and he's like hanging by his legs. He's like hanging over the fence, and he just kind of rises up and looks at them, and then like goes back down. Like
Yep.
what? He's drinking the fucking pool water. Like, what
Yes.
the fuck?
dude. He's
When he takes Dipper's whistle at the end, he like eats it.
yes.
It's just like so weird.
he's I think he's supposed to be. Oh, remember he takes his hand off, and that's where he keeps his key.
Yeah, yeah. I lost it to a pool filter once.
He's insane, dude. Which is funny because you actually do see him earlier. He just doesn't have any speaking roles, so you're kind of like, well, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other things I have written down here. Apparently, mermen's voices change at like 3,
Oh yeah.
as said by Mermando. It's like, you have such a deep voice. I'm
What did-
12 years old.
What did you think of
Mermen's
Ramonda?
voices change at like 3. I thought he was a great character.
Yeah.
He's just kind of funny. I like that he's just all Spanish. He like pulls the guitar up and starts playing it, and it's like, oh wait, hold on. Pours the water out of it, starts playing it, then just drops it back in the water.
Which is funny because unless that's some kind of magical guitar, it would just deteriorate in the water.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
it's made of wood.
Yeah. Or if nothing else, it'd get super swollen and
Mermen have like 18 hearts. It's gross, but true.
it's gross but true. You know what that would mean? I mean, granted, he might just have a bunch of small hearts, but if they're human-sized hearts, then that would mean his body is just full of hearts.
Yeah,
You could say he's got a lot of heart.
he's got a lot of heart. Yeah, he's like I want to say Haji, but I don't think that's his name from Captain Planet.
No, Haji is
Is from Johnny Quest. I
Yeah.
know that.
yeah. What's
I don't know.
Darn it.
Heart Kid.
yeah, Heart Kid.
Which apparently he can like take over people's minds or something with his heart power or some shit like that, but that's neither here nor there.
Dude, that's nuts.
One thing I've written here is Baja blackmail, which is at the end when Dipper is like giving reverse CPR to Mermando. She like takes a picture of him kissing him. Baja blackmail. And then the leg jokes when she's just like, oh, his legs didn't work that day. Can you imagine not having legs? I don't want to talk about this anymore. Oh, remember the kickboxing? So that like it's just funny. She keeps rubbing in the fact that he doesn't have legs, even though she's not intentionally doing it. It's just
Yeah,
a little funny.
I think one of the
Again, this is one of those episodes that's pretty funny, but it's not that great.
yeah.
But Mr. Polchak for me definitely ups the score.
I think one of the funnier jokes is the thank you for the CPR, but why didn't you just roll me into the lake?
Yeah. Why didn't you just roll me into the lake? Like they're right there on the shore.
I will say it's actually for me it's a first because never have I seen in a kids show, especially a Disney's kids show, two kids, mind you. Granted, Ramondo's probably
He's
older.
12.
Oh, he's 12. Okay, two kids share a kiss. Granted, it is CPR, and they do affirm that.
Well, no, Mabel actually kisses him at the end.
Yeah, but okay. What I'm saying is Dipper and Mermando kiss.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's a first. I mean, granted, it's CPR, and it's the fact that while doing it, Dipper's like, I hate doing this. I hate doing this.
This is so gross, yeah.
They could do it on Gravity Falls, but they can't do it on Korra. So clearly,
Yeah, seriously. Dude, we still gotta watch that ending, and I'm just waiting for it,
yay.
because I've been shipping those characters since the beginning.
He really had.
No, since the very beginning, my first ship was Bolin and Korra, and then Asami showed up, and I wanted Asami and Bolin, and then I wanted Asami Korra.
I don't want to sound like I joined the bandwagon, but I was totally for uh, Korra and
Mako.
Mako. Yeah.
Of course you were. Mako, the cool guy. It's all about Bolin.
Dude, it's not even nearly about Bolin, but that's neither here nor there.
Not for nothing, but I think you're a little bit of a fag.
So what is the what is the cryptogram?
The cryptogram on this episode is Vivan los patos de la piscina, which is Spanish for long live the pool ducks.
Making a reference to the fact that there was a subplot with the pool ducks, but
Yeah, the inflatable pool duck uprising. The revolution is at hand.
okay. Looking at the trivia, there's not.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird actually. It was the highest rated episode of the first season.
Over the overall series as of yet.
Yeah,
It says right here, this is also the highest rated episode in the overall series. Huh, that's pretty cool. It is a good episode, really.
I really didn't think so. Well, again, it's not the worst because I think that is Boss Mabel in my opinion, but I didn't know
Yeah.
it was. I would have figured it would have been the swine one, the Land Before Swine.
Oh, Land Before Swine?
Yeah.
That's actually probably my second favorite episode, next to Fight Fighters.
Yeah,
Fight
Fight
Fighters
Fighters
is
is
great.
pretty good. Apparently,
In the original script,
yeah, I'm reading the original script. Yeah, it's not that important. Moving on.
when Stan tries to blind Gideon with his wristwatch, Stan says burn the child instead of blind the child. Disney almost removed this completely from the script, and a few people who worked on the show even thought that they did.
Burn
Yeah, but
the
that's funny,
child.
burn the child. And that's something Stan would absolutely say.
Yes, because he's Eddie as an adult.
He's
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lesson or
Yeah, he
anything.
really is.
He really is. I don't know if there's a lesson.
Not especially. I mean, there probably is, but it's not amazing. Gideon appears a little bit in this episode. And it's funny when he takes the chair from Stan. He's like, "Why, Stanford? I did not know that you had claimed this chair." I did, and he's like rolling around on it, giggling like.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a
just
little
very-
doucher.
He's so funny. Did you say he's a little Richard?
No, he's a little doucher.
Oh, I thought you said Little Richard. Yes, he is a little dick.
A little Richard. He's black and he's very flamboyant.
It was a fun episode. So I rated it about a 7 to 8 out of 10. Probably closer to a 7, but you know, still fun. It gets up from a 6 or a 7 up to a 7 or an 8. Pretty much based solely on Mr. Polchak.
Yeah.
He is just fucking. He's psycho, and it's funny to me.
He's just a bundle of fun, that guy.
He really is.
So I think we're good to move on.
Okay.
Okay, this one
Moving on to episode 16.
I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about with this one. It is called
Oh yeah, definitely.
Carpet Diem. Obviously making a Carpet Diem, making a reference to
Yep.
Carpe Diem, which is seize the day.
Yep.
And
Sheesh the day.
would you like to do the overview?
Yes, I keep forgetting to click to the next one when we start it. Carpet Diem. When Dipper discovers a hidden room inside the Mystery Shack, he is happy to claim it as his own space. But there's one problem. Mabel wants the room too. The duo compete to win the room with a contest that gets even trickier when they learn the room's carpet has electric body swapping properties.
You know, I think the way they find out about the room is that Seuss is cleaning, and then he finds a
doorknob.
a doorknob, and then he sticks it into the
Well, he doesn't actually find the doorknob, but he finds like the hole.
right, and then he just kind of opens it up, and oh look, there's a whole nother room, and then Stan doesn't even care about it.
He's just like, oh great, there's another room I have to clean up.
Exactly.
And not apparently. I mean, there's a calendar for some date, and July 4th is circled on it for some reason.
Independence Day.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what's the significance of that? Why is that circled?
And why has no one been in that room since 1983?
Exactly. Oh, is it 1983? Is that the date?
I thought it was. Is it not? No,
I'm not sure.
1982.
I didn't write. Okay, I didn't write it down. So
Okay. Um. So yeah, they find this new room, and what really kind of starts the whole episode is the fact that Mabel invites Grenda and Cookie, Candy. I
Candy.
always want to say Cookie, Candy and Grenda over for a sleepover, and Dipper really doesn't like it, and because they share a room, and he's like, well, maybe we should not sleep together, or not sleep together, but
Whoa!
I am not.
Crossing into the twin cest.
I was gonna say pine cest. I'm not into that. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'm gonna put that, and it's not because of the pine cest. It's because they're underaged.
No, it's a little both.
It's a little bit of both.
But so then they find this carpet, and Dipper with his shoes off is walking across
An electron carpet.
Is that what it's called? An electron carpet?
Yeah.
Okay. And so
sorry if I cut you off. By the way, there's a little bit of a delay for us.
I can see it. I can see
Yeah.
it. I can see the delay with my eyes.
Oh, physically?
No,
It's not corporeal?
no, it's emotionally, dude.
Oh, you can see the emotional spectrum?
I'd like to think so. So he starts scuffling his feet, and he like pokes Mabel, and they switch bodies, and their reaction to switching bodies is so great.
They freak the fuck out.
Really do. Mabel. Okay, so just to make it easy for ourselves, when we refer to these characters, we'll tell you when they switch bodies, but we're going to refer to them as their names, not whose body they're in. So when I refer to Mabel, we will say when Mabel switched bodies with Dipper, but when I talk about, I'm going to say Mabel, but I mean Mabel in Dipper's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we don't have to keep saying in whose body. But Mabel starts punching herself, like, I got get out, and Dipper's sitting in the corner like,
They're throwing up, like
they're
just screaming.
Which is it only makes it better because later other people are going to switch bodies and they don't take it the same way.
None of them care. They love it, actually. They have fun.
Exactly. Like, nobody freaks out. Everybody's having a good time except for them initially. But and then what they're trying to do is Stan, being Stan, wants to make it a competition between the two who gets the new room. And
yeah.
So they try to
who sucks up the best.
Right, and they try to sabotage each other, and then later hijinks ensue, and Grenda and and Sue switches body with a pig. Can't forget.
Yeah, which actually, Pig Seuss is pretty good. He's delightful. Seuss Pig is delightful.
He's so weird though. There's a scene with
mud puddle. Do I dare live out the cliche?
Oh, I was talking about Pig Seuss, where he looks at Grunkle Stan, and it's so awkward.
Oh, and he like slaps him in the face, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's just like looking at him, and he's like, "All right, you get a raise or something," and he leaves.
Yeah, well, he was gonna like cut his pay, but he's so awkward that he just doesn't.
By the way, at the very beginning, they're playing attic stuff mini golf, and I made the note that Dipper and Mabel have a really good relationship. Like, they're a really good brother and sister, and you can tell they really enjoy each other's company.
Right.
Which, of course, comes into play at the end of this episode.
Exactly, and yeah, they're really close as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with the fact that they're twins. I think the fact that they're twins, the fact that they're the same age, and the fact that which I guess twins and being the same age kind of go hand in hand, but it's also that they don't really know that many people in the town.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, now they probably do, but when they initially got there.
It sucks for Dipper, because now that I think about it, Dipper doesn't have any friends his own age.
Nope.
But Mabel does.
My next thing is Grenda yelling. It's the part where she's screaming, and it's like, ah! Because they're all, like, screaming because they're having a sleepover. And Grenda's just like, ah!
What is it? This
hilarious.
Episode?
Pretty much, I love the character of Grenda and Cookie or Candy. I love the two. I think they're so funny. The
I am
characters
getting
of.
used to them. I like, at first I'm like, meh, but as it's going, it's just like I'm loving specifically Grenda because she's just so manly for a little girl. And there's a scene where
I used to sing like that before my voice changed.
she was like drinking like expired milk for some reason and just passes out.
Yeah, like it gets her high or something.
When Sue switches bodies with Grenda, it's like this body's very similar, you know?
Huh, this body is actually not too different from mine.
Exactly. And then when Dipper switches bodies with
Or
her,
my old one or something.
yeah, when he switches bodies with her, he's like, "Whoa, I'm in a girl's body, but I do like having muscles for a change." And then when
Yeah, and she's like, I've got tiny doll hands.
I'm gonna put you in a headlock.
You sound like a pro wrestler. I want to put her in a headlock. Make her feel pain.
Okay, I got.
Brenda is such a good character. She's so
Yeah,
funny.
I'm digging her. It sucks that I want there to be a Grenda focused episode, but and then Candy.
You know there probably won't be.
There could be if the show goes on long enough. Candy
Yeah.
is math to me. She's just kind of.
She also has some funny lines.
She does.
She really does.
Uh,
Like in a later, actually, it's the next episode, Boys Crazy. There's something that she says. That's we'll get there. We'll talk about it when we get there. But it made me laugh so fucking hard
and this
because it's perfect with her voice.
in this one, I think the one line that she says that makes me laugh is she switches bodies with Dipper and she's like, "Yo, dudes, I'm a guy. Let's go out and grow mustaches."
Hey, bro, let's go. Can't do the accent.
Yeah, she's
At
got
the
kind of
school-
a. It's not so much
No.
broken English; it's just heavy accented English.
It's like sounds like BMO. Like basically that's.
Well, it
the
is the
voice.
same voice actress that does BMO, and I believe Lady.
Well, I mean that's. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what I mean is that's like the cadence of the voice.
Oh yes. So, would you like to do the cryptogram?
Not quite. I have a few notes for this episode.
Okay.
Another one is Dipper's reading. It's like, then you can't keep me up with your reading. And he's like, what? How do I keep you up with reading? When he's sitting there reading, he's like, oh, what does that mean? He's like clicking his pen and stuff. He's just like laughing when he's reading.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gotten so into a book that you're just like audibly into it?
I do. I have laughed out loud from some of the things I read, but
Yeah, me too. Another note I have here is just lots of great jokes. This episode is extra funny, and I laughed. I mean, I didn't want to write all the jokes down, but there were a lot of. And I wrote down Stan really loves fights. Like he's sitting there watching TV, and there's like two guys fighting. And he's like, fight, and then it switches, and there's more guys fighting. Fight. Oh no, it's two deer headbutting. He's like, fight. Shows two babies, and he's like, fight. We'll be right back with baby fights. Television understands me. Something like that. It's really funny.
one of my favorite jokes from this one is actually Mabel's talking to Grunkle Stan in Dipper's body, and he just like he talks to her about the birds and the bee. Like I don't know if it's the birds and the bees, or if it's just male puberty. But either way,
I think it's just male puberty
when they
because the
come,
book is
I don't know what does the book say.
I'm looking for the title. I assume it's in the trivia or something somewhere.
Well, either way, when it zooms back to it, because it doesn't say what he tells her, but when it zooms back, she's like, "Goodbye, childhood."
Yeah. Goodbye, childhood. She's just like rocking a little bit.
Which is another.
Oh yeah, and meanwhile, Dipper in Mabel's body, they're reading her a romance novel about a werewolf, and like, Mabel in Dipper's body is like sitting at the door, and when they read the first thing, Grenda and Candy both make a comment, and then Dipper's just like, oh, what the fuck, and then Mabel in Dipper's body on the other side of the door is like, he sounds so fierce. Stan walks up. Oh, it seems like you that creepy age where you're spying on girls.
That's beautiful.
What is the name of the book? Oh, Why Am I So Sweaty? That's the book. Which is funny. Other things I got written down here. What do I got? I love the carpet concept. Like, the body swapping is obviously something that's been done before, but I don't think I've ever seen it in this way. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really cool. I actually really like it. The whole static electricity thing. It's we've said it before in a previous episode, but this show likes to take a used concept and come up with a new way to look at it.
Yes. One of the another joke that I thought was pretty funny was actually the old man McGucket chases after Seuss in the pig's body.
Yeah.
And when they get back to the place, he switches bodies with one of the little girls, and he's like, "I regained my innocence."
Yeah. And I think it's Candy. She's like, "I'm Santa Claus now."
Yeah.
And earlier McGucket's gonna eat Seuss, and he's like, "I'm gonna eat you. It's free meat." It's like, "Wait, dude, I'm a pig trapped in a man's body. I'm trapped in a pig's body."
Yeah.
They all say that.
Oh, that's what they all say or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
And
I noticed they're being huge douches to each other. They're just being total assholes to each other. And pretty much everybody is during the whole big super body swapping scene where everyone keeps swapping over and over.
Right.
Just being dicks to each other.
Which, the cops get involved and they start switching bodies, but they don't care.
Yeah, the cops show up and they're like, "We got a call for excessive giggling." It's kind of funny.
Which is funny because first of all, that's funny that that's a thing, but secondly, they're in the mystery shack. Who is hearing it?
Yeah, exactly. Who called that in?
But anyway, trivia.
My last note here. Hold on, my last note written here. Play with the body switching. Because if you recall, particularly Candy and Grenda were just like having the most fun in the world switching bodies willy-nilly. Would you play with the body switching?
I think it would be an experience.
Yeah, of course it would be.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be a cool kind of. Granted, it'd be only with someone. I would never switch bodies with someone who didn't want to. Clearly.
Oh yeah, of course I wouldn't force it.
But it would it'd be kind of a cool thing to actually see what you look like from somebody else's perspective.
That would be pretty cool.
And then would be awesome to kind of if they ever came up with a way to do it, I think it would be a nice little thing for let's say there's a kid with cancer or something and he's bedridden. Well, switch bodies with him for one day and let the kid enjoy going outside and seeing the sun and actually being healthy for a day and going to an amusement park or something or
playing on a team, like going and playing base kids or just shit like that.
Or again, it'd be another similar thing is let's say you've always wanted to do something, but because of your health or because maybe you're missing an arm or a leg or something, you could never go do it. Well, switch bodies with someone for a day and then go do that.
Yeah. I was thinking, it'd be really cool if you and I switched bodies. Because it'd be weird for me to see what it's like to be, really skinny. And I'm sure it'd be strange for you to see what it's like to be really handsome and, just powerful, intelligent, etc.
I thought you said we would be switching bodies.
Yes. Be truthful. Would you enjoy being able to snap me in half for once instead of the other way around?
I think I would honestly sit there and think to myself.
First thing you do is just fucking bear hug me.
First thing I would do, honestly, is just I don't know what the first thing I would do is. See,
breathe.
Here's the weird thing: if we switched bodies, what would you do if you had to piss?
What do you mean?
Why would you
go to the bathroom?
You'd see my dick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing I would do not including breathing, aging, all that shit,
Yeah.
would probably be to just whip your dick out just to know. Oh, okay. Or I win. You know what I mean? Or oh.
Do you think? Do you think you could, like, let's say we switch bodies in secret? Do you think you would be able to pull me off, like, be able to act as me well enough that Colleen would notice?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'd pick up on that shit immediately.
I don't think I
Like,
could.
hey, babe, you want to get down with it? Who the fuck are you? Especially if that was like a thing you could do, she would already have some amount of predetermined suspicion.
You just go up to Colleen like, you want to get jiggy with it? Get out of here.
Hey,
Hey! Like, I wonder, I'm sure your parents would probably figure out very quickly, like, you're not Justin, are you? No.
Well, I don't know. I think you could pull me off better than I could pull you off. But I also think that I'm such kind of a weirdo that you wouldn't have to work too hard to pull me off because people would just accept it regardless. Provided you weren't doing things obviously out of the ordinary. You know what I mean?
You know, a little bit of an aside here. How much would it, like, just pain you if we went out on the town, switched bodies, and I was just picking up chicks as you?
Oh my god, I'd be fucking.
But then again,
I would be bad, but it would help confidence because it'd be like, oh, yes, my body can get women as long as I change my attitude.
okay, I'm just gonna put this out there right now. Whatever, I don't know if you were doing something in that last sentence, but you came in and out like crazy.
Oh, I was jerking off.
Oh, okay, that's probably it.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. No, what I was saying was, I mean, it would make me sad, obviously, but it would also be kind of cool because it's like, it would be nice to know, oh, hey, I guess my body can get women, and I just need to change my attitude.
Oh, so it'd be worse for you if we went out on the town and even with my personality, I still couldn't pick up women. It'd be like, oh, so it
Yeah,
is my
it's
body.
like, oh, yeah. At that point, I'd have to pretty much be like, okay, I gotta stop doing everything else in my life and just fucking get that weight issue in check.
No, okay, now, which, in your opinion, is would be harder to change, your personality or your body type? Now, granted, I understand that changing your body, in theory, is easier, but I'm asking you, do you think for yourself it'd be harder to change your body or your personality?
It would be much, much, much easier for me to change my body if I lived somewhere like you, where I had a gym close by that I could easily go to.
Right.
Because, I mean, you've already seen, when I have that available, I go to it, and I swim often, and I go on the stationary bike, and I lift with it. I actually do. I mean, I didn't get into shape because I only had 3 months at the time, but I definitely got into better shape.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I used to box. I've done that for an entire summer, and I bulk up and lose a bunch of weight and all that. So the problem with my weight is just that this house is like a black hole, and for whatever reason, I just don't want to do anything when I'm here. So I feel like it would definitely be easier to change my body than my personality. Though it would still take a long time to do the body, obviously. It's not something you can just change overnight.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean,
yeah. What if you switched with a lady?
You know,
what would you do? Like, excuse me.
To be honest,
if you body switched with Colleen.
I was gonna say, if I was to ever switch bodies with any female, it would have to be Colleen, just because I wouldn't want to. Because you can take out. First of all, I'd never want to switch bodies with any family member, period. Just because I don't really want to know them in that way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to. Like, unless it was for a short while, like, I wouldn't mind switching bodies with my dad so I can understand. Because you understand, like, when they're going through pains and things, like physical pains,
Yeah.
I would finally be able to be like, oh, okay, I totally understand when you say your knee hurts. I can now understand. Ow, that really does hurt. Like,
Exactly.
but I wouldn't want to do it for like a day, just because I wouldn't want to. Well, I guess I could close my eyes. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't want to see their body parts.
Yeah.
So
Hey, it's all the same, dude. Tits
yeah,
are tits. Penis is a penis. Whatever.
yeah. I don't want to see my dad's penis or my mom's breasts. That'd be kind of gross for me. But even outside of family, I don't know any girls that I would want to necessarily. But yeah, if I switch bodies with Colleen, I think immediately I'd want to have sex, just to be like, so this is what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the first thing I would probably do is just start. If I switch with a chick, I would just want to just masturbate constantly,
I wouldn't want
just
to
because I
masturbate
want to know the
You
other side.
you want to see like
Plus, I'm really into female bodies, and I love to just with titties.
you think you would just be sitting
You know
there
what I
all
mean?
day just playing with titties? Just,
Well, no, not all day, but definitely would be one of the first things I do.
play with those suckers till they got
Put it
raw.
into perspective. Yeah, but just to put it into perspective, also, you know.
Another thing that would be actually kind of a cool thing is she wears glasses, I don't, and I think
To
that
see the difference.
yeah, to see like, oh, so this is kind of what it's like to not be able to see very well without having glasses on. Because you know, you take it for granted that you can see well unless you have.
No, I don't.
I know you don't, but I think I take it for granted. I think most people with good eyesight take it for granted that I can see well. I don't have to wear glasses.
I'm not reliant on glasses.
Exactly.
Like, I'd be so fucked. Like, okay, boom, apocalypse happens, my glasses break, I'm fucked. I can't see shit.
Oh yeah, pretty much. If you wear glasses or if you wear hearing aids or if you rely on any piece of technology to survive on a day-to-day basis, in an apocalypse, you're
Yeah.
done.
Mm-hmm.
You're just done. Like, I'm sure you could adapt depending on how
Yep.
bad your eyesight is, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That I would. So yeah, to answer your question, a long roundabout way of saying, yeah, I would do it, but just to experience it. But
Yeah, not in any permanent way, of course.
pretty
Well,
much.
maybe. What if you just fell in love with the new body? What if both people were mutually like okay, here's a practical application to having it as a thing that you can just do in society.
Okay.
People who transgenders, before they go through surgery, they're basically a woman in a man's body or a man in a woman's body.
Right.
Just find two people who feel that way and switch bodies with each other. You know?
Right.
I mean, it's not exactly a perfect thing, but it could work if both parties are willing and all that.
Another thing you could do is, let's say there's an inmate on death row. I don't know if this is ethical. Just kind of throwing it out there, but have him switch bodies with a terminally ill patient because he's already on death row. He's already going to die. But this way, give the body.
You can save someone else's life also.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you'd want to because you'd be walking around in like a killer's body, and I'm sure he'd have tattoos all over the place. But I guess that's better than dying.
Yeah.
And presumably, if we've gotten advanced enough that we can have a machine that does this, then we probably have machines that can get rid of all the tattoos. And
Well, killers don't always have tattoos.
well, I mean, just in general, they'll probably have like. Would you? Okay, let me ask you. Would you mind being in a killer's body?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Okay. Okay.
Before we move on from the body switching thing, tell Colleen I would totally want to body switch with her. And then wink.
Hey, Colleen. Justin said he totally switched bodies with you. Wink.
Wink.
So, Justin, what does the cryptogram for this episode say?
The cryptogram says puberty is the greatest mystery of all. Also, go outside and make friends.
Oh, that's nice.
It is nice.
There's actually a whole bunch of trivia for this episode because they introduced that room.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But is any of it like particularly interesting?
well, it has a lot to do with the calendar. So, for instance, when Stan is looking at the glasses, the date circled on the calendar is July 4th, 1982. While this date on the calendar was a Thursday, July 4th, 1982, was actually a Sunday. That's kind of just a little.
Hmm. A little funny thing.
And then, when this episode was put on iTunes, the episode itself was Boy Crazy by mistake.
Hmm. 618 appears again.
It does. On the during the baby fights, one of the babies is chewing on a block.
Yeah.
So the date on the calendar, July 4th, 1982, is Independence Day. 1982 is also the year that Stan started practicing a coin trick that he still hasn't been able to master to this day.
Okay, very nice.
And the glasses that he
It sucks for him.
the glasses that he picks up when they time traveled in one of the earlier episodes, and they actually show Stan coming out of like a cabin. He's actually wearing those glasses.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird little shtick there. Also, kind of a little thing. This episode was aired as part of a freaky freak end on Disney Channel. It was a promotional stunt wherein 8 episodes from various shows have body switching episodes over the course of a weekend.
That's a lot of episodes.
Isn't it? That seems a little ridiculous.
It's almost too much.
8 different shows with a body switching episode. It's like, why? Maybe they were re-releasing Freaky Friday as a...
Oh, just as a fun thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I imagine.
So what do you think of this episode as a whole?
I rate it a 8 to 9 out of 10. I thought it was a really good episode. Quite enjoyed it.
Yes. I thought it was one of the better ones. I'd give it an 8 or a 9 too. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's...
I just like the body switching concept.
You know, I've seen it in other things before, but yeah, it's kind of a... it's not... I don't think it's overused. So it is nice when you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's it for me. Do you have anything else you want to...
No, I think we're good with this episode.
Okay.
And actually, I think we're good with this whole episode of the show, which leaves about one more left in season 1.
Pretty much, and we'll finally finish up season 1 and probably do a little bit of the mini episodes because they're super short and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll do season 2, because since we're doing them episode by episode, it doesn't matter if we wait until the entire season 2 is out.
This is true. All right, so if you liked this episode, like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff.
Of course.
And
actually, as far as comments go, I have a question. If anybody cares, I want you to answer it in the comment section. What would you think of the body switching, I guess, mechanic? Would you play with it? How would you like it? Who would you want to switch with? Share your thoughts.
Share your thoughts, man.
Share your thoughts with me, boys.
But we were your hosts. I am Chris. With me was Justin.
Yep, I love you, Chris.
You love me, Chris? Oh, thank you.
Yes. No, I was saying I love you to the audience, comma.
Chris. Like as in Chris, your turn. I am fond of you, audience.
We're just friends, audience.
And we will see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.